Hi, I'm Brian Badsmarowski from Eurocham Cambodia. Today we're visiting DB SCHENKER Cambodia in Phnom Penh. The German logistics company is one of the leading logistics companies in the entire world, employing over 80,000 people, and its air freight division alone covers 130 countries. They just celebrated their 10-year anniversary in Cambodia, and they have a long 150-year history behind them. Today we're going to meet Mr. Thomas Sorensen, the CEO of DB SCHENKER's Mekong cluster. So let's take a look inside.
My name is Thomas Sorensen. I'm currently the CEO of the Mekong cluster for DB SCHENKER. I'm based in Bangkok since January 1st of 2023, covering the 5 countries of Thailand, Vietnam, Myanmar, Laos, and of course Cambodia, where we are right now.
Okay, yes, it's a big region. So we'll just jump into the first question here. With more than 150 years of experience, DB SCHENKER is a powerhouse in the transport and logistics sector. The company recently celebrated its 10th anniversary in Cambodia. And so I'd like to ask, how do you view the Cambodia market? Where does it fit into your regional plan?
I think while Cambodia is relatively small in a global context, then it's still an important part of our business. We see certain sectors, particularly the garment and the textile sector, being quite important here for our global customers, both overseas in USA and Europe, but also in other places in Asia Pacific. I mean, we also see that there's good business potential in Cambodia with a number of infrastructure projects. There's a new airport being built at the moment, which gives a lot of transport opportunities into the country, and it also gives better infrastructure for the future logistics needs for exporters and importers in Cambodia. There's also a new port being built, Kampot, if I'm not completely wrong, maybe I'm butchering the pronunciation here, but that's being built at the moment, which will also help bring better connectivity to a country like Cambodia. For any business or for any country, the connectivity in the logistics sector is really important, right? So airports and seaports is really important in this aspect. We also have great connectivity to and from Thailand, Vietnam, even up to China here from Cambodia via truck. And that's another way of servicing this market.
Okay, right. Yeah, as Cambodia gets more roads, more airports, more ports, it only makes it easier, right?
Exactly.
Transport.
And cheaper, which is
cheaper,
important.
right? That's a big one. Yeah, I think the region is becoming more and more on everyone's radar around the globe too. And yeah, like you just said, it's a big region. It's Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam. Very diverse region featuring emerging markets, traditional trade powerhouses, Thailand and Vietnam. So what are some of the trends you've noticed lately, and how is DB SCHENKER reacting to these trends?
Yeah, so I think you're right that a lot of people talk about Mekong or even Southeast Asia as one market. It's not. It's different cultural, it's different languages, it's different in the businesses that are successful in the different countries. So you really need to take individual approaches to the different countries. In terms of trends, there's a number of things that's going on at the way we see it. The biggest one probably at the moment is that during COVID and after COVID, a lot of companies have revised their global sourcing strategies. They are deleveraging China. A lot of companies are having sourcing strategies that are China +1, meaning they will still do business in China, which makes sense. It's obviously the biggest sourcing market, but they don't want to be 100% dependent. So we see a lot of new business moving into Vietnam. We actually also see business here in Cambodia that are coming in through this aspect. So this is maybe the biggest trend. Thailand also takes some business on, particularly in the electronics sector. That is moving in. Then on a little bit more unfortunate note, maybe good for Cambodia, not so good for Myanmar, is that the current political situation in Myanmar makes it difficult for some of our international customers to do business there. We have decided to keep our presence and we will continue to service the market there is, but some of our customers are moving out. That is a benefit to Cambodia because some of these are moving to Cambodia, and then we will see more activities in Cambodia. Then we must not underestimate that over the last 10 years, we've seen a huge increase in the living standards and in the average GDP per person here in these countries. And that also means these markets are becoming more than export markets. They're also starting to consume goods from overseas, whether that is luxury goods from Europe or whether that is cars from other Asian countries or from America or from Europe. or from Japan or Korea, then you're seeing that on the streets, right? As driving around Phnom Penh today, you saw Teslas, Lexuses, etc., something that was probably not common 10 years ago. And that's really a testament to also the trend that's changing there. Then I also want to point one thing out, and it's interesting, on my last 2 visits to Phnom Penh with customers, both times I've been asked about sustainability. And that's something that I think a lot of our customers are talking about. That is sustainability. How can we have a sustainable, from a CO2 perspective, from an emission perspective, supply chain? And that's something we are helping our customers with. We are looking at ways to use, we call it sustainable aviation fuel. So that's basically reused cooking oil that is used to fuel the airplanes. We have low sulfur fuels that we are providing for some of our shipping line partners. We are creating visibility. If you can't measure it, it's really difficult to know if you're improving or not. So sustainability is something we see as maybe a little bit of a surprise in a market like Cambodia, but we are seeing it high on the agenda from a number of our customers. As late as this morning, one of our customers were asking about what are we actually doing in that area. We think that's something we can do something about. On that note, we're also seeing in the region, maybe not so much in Cambodia at the moment, we see that a lot in Laos is big hydro projects. And that's also a kind of sustainable energy source. We also see solar panels as being a very big aspect of things here. So these are some of the trends that we are seeing in the 5 countries.
Yeah, it's nice to hear about the sustainability issue, especially with the EU just passing the CSDDD, sort of forcing compliance along the whole supply chain, making sure people are paying attention to human rights, environmental and social. So yeah, it's really starting to take shape. And you talked a little bit about the geopolitical situation, so I'll talk about that in a second. But shipping rates and services, they finally got back to a bit of a new normal after the COVID pandemic. However, some of these crises, the Red Sea crisis with the Houthis, trade wars, geopolitical tensions in Southeast Asia, it's put some more pressure on supply chains. So should we expect a new normal of shipping, of major disruptions in shipping, both from a service and a cost perspective?
Yeah, so I wish I could sit here and say everything would be back to normal and how it was pre-COVID, which is a bit more stable, lower prices also. In 23, we did see a normalization of the freight rates to a large extent, both on air and on ocean. And that's something that was welcomed by everybody, ourselves included. It allowed us to service our customers better, to actually live up to the promises and the transit times that they expect to be able to fulfill their needs overseas. Unfortunately, with the Red Sea crisis that's happening at the moment, which essentially means pretty much, I shouldn't say all, but a very large percentage of container ships are now sailing from Asia, south of Africa into Europe. And that adds a good 2 weeks of transit time, both directions. That means 4 weeks in total. Essentially, it also means that 40% of the capacity on the Asia to Europe trade is taken out because you need more ships to cater to the same amount of volumes. That has a big impact. And we didn't see much happening for the first quarter, but we have seen over the last few weeks and months that the freight rates on ocean is definitely starting to creep up. We are seeing freight rates above the $10,000 mark again into Europe, which is in the long term of shipping unheard of. It happened during COVID, but it's coming back. And we also believe that will have a spillover effect on air freight. We expect that there will be traditional ocean shippers that, because of the delays, need to shift to air freight, and that will bring up the air freight rates as well. So unfortunately, we don't see a total normalization. We think there will be service disruptions. We think there will be high prices for the future until the Red Sea situation gets resolved one way or the other. And that's something, it's hard for me as a layman. I'm not a politician, or I don't want to have an opinion about all these things. But as long as it's there and the ships are not going through, which we fully understand, why the shipping lines won't risk their crew members' health to do. Right. Until that happens, and then we will see the situation. We also see with the Iran situation and other things that the air routes are no longer into Europe, so you have to fly a slightly different way to avoid both Ukraine now and also Iran and other places, and that also adds both cost and time to the supply chain.
Yes. We were talking before about, I think Petro called it the whip effect, but a delay of 2 weeks at the beginning of the shipping process it just extrapolates to even, okay, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. By the time the product arrives, it's months delay or something. But behind all this, it seems like the demand, the consumer demand is still there because people are still paying these prices. I read that typically for Christmas time, people will ship in July or something, but they're now marking their calendars for now to get those Christmas shipments in. So it's becoming more about inventory management.
I think there's a degree of that. And I think people are moving it earlier, and that's a way to counter these delays, right? So if you know there's a delay, you start earlier, but there's a limit to how much you can do because the factories cannot suddenly produce 1 month in advance, right? So this is why we are seeing these challenges. Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay. So in light of all these situations we just described, it seems like global trade is going through like a big change right now, and maybe it won't go back to how it was. So how do you see that, and what is your advice to people in the industry to stay ahead of the curve and not get caught blindsided, maybe?
So I think it's difficult for me to hand out advice to our customers on a generic basis, right? Different industries are handled in a different way. In some industries, it can be electronics and others, you still run, I wouldn't call it just in time, but almost just in time, right? Because the cost of holding inventory is quite high. The turnover of models is quite fast, so you cannot sit with a lot of inventory and suddenly there's a new model out and you won't be able to sell the old things. At the same time, there's other commodities, let's take traditional things that are shipped out of Cambodia, like rice. Well, that's a different story because it doesn't go out of fashion, right? That whether you ship to inventory probably makes sense that you are able to supply those things. We think that the key part is you have good partners. We of course consider ourselves such a good partner that we can work together on finding solutions to the challenges that ultimately will show up. So that's one thing. The second thing is to have good visibility, to have partners that can provide you visibility on shipment so you have an understanding of where your goods are and when they will arrive at the final destination so that you can plan and see this is what's coming, so you avoid what you talked about earlier with further delay and delay and delay because you don't know when things are showing up. And that I think is the best thing we can offer from our side.
Okay, fine. Okay, well, in light of the 10-year anniversary milestone in Cambodia, I'd like to know what message would you like to convey to DB Schenker's customers and business partners?
First of all, we would love to thank all of our business partners, whether it's shipping lines, whether it's airlines, whether it's trucking companies, particularly our customers, of course, and also our loyal servicing staff. Some of them have been with us from day one, so are celebrating their 10-year anniversary also this year, which is pretty cool. I think that somebody has been around since the beginning of this. So we want to thank them for their support. And just as we are celebrating 150 years globally, we look forward to celebrating 20, 25, 50 years anniversary. Last week we had our 25-year anniversary in Myanmar. Next month, actually end of July, we are celebrating 50 years in Thailand, and I hope that's a testament to our customers that we are here for the long haul.
All right. I think 30 years in Vietnam as well, I read.
I think around that, that's correct. We've done business there for a longer period of time, but in terms of corporate structures, yes.
Before we end, is there anything else that you'd like to touch on, whether it's about the...
No, I think that we're very happy to be here in Cambodia. We are very happy to service the customers here. We want to invest in the country. We want to do more, and the testament to that is actually the last couple of days. We've also had a few colleagues from our head office here that are out here looking at it, that are really seeing Cambodia also as an area where we can find more growth. So I think that's a testament to our commitment to Cambodia for the last 10 years, and for the next 10 years and beyond. That's for sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll look out for DB Schenker in Cambodia, increased presence. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.